Hi guys, it's Steffi from the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with another Books Beside My Bed video. This week's reading wrap-up, which is what my Books Beside My Bed videos are all about, is from the 29th of July to the 4th of August, and I read 6 books this week, but one of them was a picture book. I read a total of 1,761 pages and my yearly reading total is up to 145 books. I had a lot of books for review that I was reading this week, so I'm going to get straight into it and tell you what I read and what I thought of them. The first book that I read this week was The Devil's Half Mile by Patty Hirsch. This was sent to me for review by Allen and Unwin, and this was published by Atlantic this year, and it is sort of a historical crime fiction story, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It is set in 1799 New York, and a young man named Justy Flanagan is returning to New York after a stint over in Ireland, and he's come home to find out what happened to his father. Now, his father committed suicide apparently when he was younger. However, he believes that it was actually murder, and it has something to do with the stocks and stock exchange and Wall Street and all that sort of thing. This is quite a gritty story, and it's a time period that I'm not overly familiar with. I should say this was an unsolicited review copy, so I don't know if I would have picked this up on my own, which is, you know, the good thing about receiving review copies that you didn't ask for, because you can always try something new, and I wholly appreciate that. However, for me, historical fiction is not really my thing, and I don't mind crime books, but I like them to be fast paced, and this was quite slow and gritty, and it has great atmosphere. So if you're looking for a historical fiction crime novel that's got great atmosphere, I highly recommend this one. But for me, it probably wasn't my personal taste. It's also quite gruesome. There's quite a bit of fighting and death, so just beware of that going into it. Then I read an e-arc from NetGalley, and that was Deadly News by Jodie Holford. This is a cozy mystery, and the first cozy mystery I've read, and I was inspired by Courtney from Courtagonist, who loves cozy mysteries and talks about them all the time, and I just decided to go searching on NetGalley and see if I could find one to read, and I found this one, and it was great. I believe it's being published by Lyrical Underground, and the release date is October 30 this year, so it hasn't come out yet, but it will be out in a couple of months, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It is the story of Molly, who is an editor, and she has recently moved to sort of a coastal town called Britain Bay. She's essentially moved away from her home to get away from things that have gone wrong in the past and a bad relationship and all that sort of stuff. And she's taken on a job as an editor at the local paper. It's a very small paper, and the reporters there are used to doing things a certain way. The newspaper itself hasn't really been taken care of in the way that it should be in the last few years, but she's there to make those changes. She tasks one of the reporters with going out to interview the matriarch of a very prominent local family, and then not 24 hours later, Molly finds this reporter dead, and she decides to try and uncover the mystery surrounding his death. I can see the appeal of cozy mysteries because it was just really fun. It was super easy to read and enjoyable. Very, very cute. Like, all of the names of the places in the town have really adorable names that are all related to the sort of business that it is, and there's lots of discussions about food, and I was really getting hungry while I was reading the book. But it was just such a nice thing to curl up on the couch and read. It was just very, very enjoyable. So I will definitely be checking out future cozy mysteries. So if you have any recommendations for where I should start, leave them down in the comments for me. The picture book that I read this week was So Numb in the Silence by Eddie Ayres and illustrated by Ronak Taher, I think. Apologies for butchering names. This story is set in a Taliban-ruled Afghanistan, and Sonam is a young girl, and she lives in a world where music has been banned, so no one plays music, you can't hear it. And yet one day she stumbles across a walled garden, and there she hears this most beautiful sound, and it's music. She tries to hold on to this feeling, and she learns to play an instrument even though music is forbidden. It's about how music transforms her life, and it's just absolutely beautiful. The illustrations are just gorgeous. It's a beautiful collage, and I have to say that the whole aesthetic of this book is gorgeous because it's a hardcover, but it's not the shiny hardcover. It's matte, it's got the debossing, and it's just, honestly, it's gorgeous. This was published by Allen and Unwin this year, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. So if you see it, definitely check it out, because I haven't read any picture books for kids set in Afghanistan, and I think this is going to be a really great discussion piece, particularly for older children. Next, I read Daughter of the Burning City by Amanda Foody. This was published by Harlequin Teen last year, 2017, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. This is one of the Book Haul Revisited books, which I, gave up on last month, so I've read at least one for this month, so we'll see how I go with the rest of the giant pile. I actually really enjoyed this. I was a little bit worried because I'd heard mixed reviews, and I really like the premise, which is that a young 16-year-old girl named Serena has grown up in a traveling carnival called Gomorrah, and she has the ability to bring to life illusions. And so she's created a family of illusions for herself, and they live and walk around and breathe and eat and do all the same things that people do, except they're not real. However, one day one of her illusions is killed, and Serena is confused because they're illusions, they shouldn't be able to die, and yet they have. And it's the mystery surrounding this event and what's happened and who is possibly pulling the strings behind the scenes. So I gave it 4 stars, and the only reason I didn't give it more because I really love the concept. I really do, and I love the illusions, and I wish we'd spent a bit more time with them. I just felt the pacing was off, and that it just wasn't moving along as quickly as it should have been. I think it probably could have been 50 to 100 pages less, and it would have been so effective. But that said, I love the ideas in it, and I love the atmosphere that comes out of the Gomorrah Festival, which is this sort of eerie community that is really a traveling city, and it's just such an intriguing idea. Then I read Legendary by Stephanie Garber, which is book 2 in the Caraval series. It was published by Hodder and Stoughton this year, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I know that there are people who have issues with this series and Caraval and this and whatever. I'm not one of those people. I am quite happy to sit back and enjoy something that is fast-paced, easy to read, and just fun, and that's what Legendary was. I actually preferred this to Caraval. I thought the story was a lot tighter, and I thought the pacing was a lot better. It follows on directly from the end of Caraval, however we've now switched main characters, and we are now following Tella, who is Scarlett's sister, and Tella has got a secret that we didn't really find out much about in Caraval, and in this we begin to unpack it about how she actually found out about Caraval and got them invitations to participate. I love just how strong and independent and fierce-minded Tella is. I thought she was a lot easier to like than Scarlett, and even though there is, you know, a love story in here because it's YA fantasy and apparently there's always a love story in these, I don't feel like that's what dominated this, because Tella finds herself in a situation that she couldn't have foreseen, and she's trying to uncover a secret that has been buried for such a long time. All she wants to do is get answers, and she's willing to play the game in order to get them, even though she knows what it could cost her. So yes, we do find out some of the secrets that we always wanted to find out in this book, and I do highly recommend it. I am looking forward to finale. So you will hear about it from me when it's released next year, more than likely. The last book that I read this week was Grace and Fury by Tracy Banghart. This is the YA Room's August book pick for the month, and it was released by Hodder this year, just recently. I think it's only been out for a week here in Australia, and I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. This had so much potential. It really did. And there are so many things in it that I love about it. So for those of you who aren't familiar, it is the story of 2 sisters, Serena and Nomi. Oh wow, I'm reading books with Serena and variations of that name. Serena and Nomi have both been raised for very specific roles in society. Serena has been raised her whole life to be chosen as one of the graces for the local ruler, and Nomi has trained to be her handmaiden, and it's a way of elevating them and their family out of their station in life. Women are not very highly regarded in this society. It is a society entirely ruled by men, and women are not allowed to learn how to read. They are not allowed to go to school. They are essentially there to either work in the factories, to raise families, or to be servants, essentially. Serena is determined to become a grace. However, her sister is quite headstrong and doesn't like the limitations that society has put onto women, and she has no issue speaking out about it, which could cause massive problems in this society, particularly if Serena is chosen as a grace. I love the emphasis that is put on the bonds of sisterhood, literal sisterhood, and also figuratively how women shouldn't be played off one another and shouldn't have to accept what other people tell them is what they're capable of doing. That stuff I loved. It is a very fast-paced book, and I appreciate that a whole lot. The chapters are short, you move through it really quickly, you get both stories of both sisters unfolding as you go on. It can get quite dark and gruesome and gritty, and there is quite a lot of fighting that happens in this book, and I appreciate all of that. All of that I loved. The thing that I did not appreciate, and the thing that really let me down in this book, is the plot twist, which I saw coming from about a quarter of the way into the book. It's been done, and that was the really sad thing, because you could have so many things could have been done. I don't even know what to say. The plot twist really, really bothered me. And I can't even give you a comparison for what this book is like, because as soon as I give you the name of the book, you're gonna know what the plot twist is. And it was sad. I didn't want it to happen that way. I wanted it to just be something entirely its own. It's a tough one. It is a tough one. I will probably read the next book when it's released just to see what happens, but if it continues down the path that it's going down, I don't know if it's really going to hold my interest beyond that. So hopefully I will be pleasantly surprised in the next book. So those are the books that I read this week. In the comments below, let me know if you have read any of these books and what your thoughts are on them, or if you are planning on picking up any of them. If you missed out on a video I posted at the end of last week, I am going to be co-hosting a readathon in September. It is a science fiction readathon. It is called Tome Infinity and Beyond, and it was created by the lovely ladies from Brushing Bookends. I will leave a link to the video down below. If you are a science fiction reader or someone who is trying to get into science fiction, I would highly recommend you participate with us. I would love to have you join us, and I will be talking a little bit more about it as the month goes on and putting up some recommendations and things like that. But it's something that I'm working on at the moment. So if you have any comments or questions, go and check out that video, ask them, check out the other co-hosts, because it's going to be a really, really great time. I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're having a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys.